quiet stories from space, nature, and history offer a calm space to drift away. Let the stillness of these words bring rest, settle in, and let's get comfortable. Fact 1. Looking down at our bright blue planet from far above, a silent shadow glides across the world. Satellites captured images from NASA showing a colossal, pitch-black smudge moving gracefully over the atmosphere. This massive shadow stretches over 70 miles wide, racing across the Earth at supersonic speeds. From the vantage point of the space station, astronauts can watch this dark void gently sweeping across the light. On the ground below, day turns instantly into night for millions of people in an instant. It looks like a cosmic ink spill softly blotting out the blue oceans and green land. Seeing such a vast darkness move across our world leaves an open question, wondering whether viewing this silent shadow from orbit makes a person feel safe or completely insignificant. Fact 2. That same darkening sky creates a quiet, subtle hazard for those looking up from the ground. On an ordinary sunny day, your brain immediately forces your eyes to squint and look away from the harsh brightness. But when the moon moves in front of the sun, that natural protective blink reflex completely shuts down. Because the environment turns dark, your pupils dilate wide to gather more light. Invisible ultraviolet radiation flows through that widened opening, silently cooking the delicate retina inside the eye. Since the retina has no pain receptors at all, you feel nothing as the damage happens. It leaves us to wonder whether anyone would risk their sight for such a brief view, or if some dark shadows are better left unglanced. In the quiet spaces of the animal world, subtle shades often mean survival. Meet Luna, a lioness born with a genetic anomaly called leucism. Unlike albinism, leucism strips her fur color while leaving her deep blue eyes untouched. But that dazzling, fairy tale appearance hides a lethal problem on the savanna. Without golden camouflage to blend into the grass, these rare cats lose up to half their hunts. For a cub to inherit this trait, both parents must carry the hidden recessive gene. This makes wild white lions so rare that fewer than 13 exist today. It raises a quiet question. If survival favors camouflage, why did nature keep this gene alive? Fact 4. Survival in the wild demands quiet strength, especially when a mother protects her young. Male grizzly bears grow twice as large as females, driven by a brutal natural instinct in the spring. Giant males will actively hunt down defenseless newborn cubs in the wilderness. Eliminating those cubs immediately forces the grieving mother back into her mating season. Facing an opponent twice her size, the smaller mother stands her ground with pure, unrelenting ferocity. She targets the giant bear's sensitive nose, risking fatal injuries to shield her offspring from harm. Most male bears quickly retreat, knowing that a wounded predator cannot hunt to survive. It gently makes you wonder if you would stand your ground when facing an enemy twice your own size. Fact 5. Nature finds subtle, unexpected ways to carry life into isolated waters across the landscape. People often wonder how fish manage to appear in closed, landlocked ponds. As wading birds walk through shallow mud, sticky fish eggs gently adhere to their feet and legs. When those birds fly away and land in new waters, the hitchhiking eggs drop off and hatch naturally. Even stranger, some resilient fish eggs survive passing entirely through a duck's digestive system. Heavy storm floods can also form temporary streams, guiding adult fish across open fields. 10,000 years ago, melting glaciers carved river corridors that stocked massive inland lakes. Resting beside a quiet pond, one might ponder whether a passing bird planted those fish or an ancient glacier. In 2019, 100 citizens and officials marched up a mountain in Iceland. They gathered atop Öxarfjall, a volcanic peak once buried in thick ice. 6 square miles of frozen glacier had completely melted into bare rock. The crowd held an official funeral ceremony to declare the glacier deceased. It became the very first major glacier in Iceland to completely vanish from the landscape. To mark the loss, they installed a permanent bronze plaque on the mountain as a monument. Standing on that bare peak, one wonders if this will be the only funeral for a glacier, or just the first. Fact 7. Adapting to the changing sky has led farmers to invent new ways to protect their crops. In France, 4 hectares of high-end grapevines grow under a massive installation of solar panels. 6,000 panels hover 5 meters above the vines, quietly tracking the movement of the sun. When severe storm clouds gather, The automated system changes its stance to shield the fruit below. The panels tilt completely flat, forming a solid overhead roof that bounces heavy hail safely away. While this innovation saves the entire harvest from destruction, French regulators strictly banned the technology from official cognac production. By choosing to protect his grapes, the grower loses his prized cognac label on every bottle. It leaves an open question whether you would sacrifice a famous brand name just to protect your yield. For decades, locals hated a massive gray concrete block sitting beside the highway. Critics routinely labeled the raw structure Connecticut's ugliest architectural mistake. But beneath that rejected concrete shell, a revolutionary reinvention was quietly waiting. Eco-focused designers stepped in to transform the abandoned monolith into a zero-emission sanctuary. They installed over 1,000 solar panels on the roof, generating all of its electricity. The notorious eyesore quickly transformed into one of New England's top-rated luxury hotels. Looking at this unusual transformation, would you stay in a hotel that people used to call ugly? Fact 9. Stone and structure can also be used to make quiet, thought-provoking statements in modern cities. In Mexico City, a massive 9-ton carved boulder dropped directly onto a bright blue Tesla. The electric car collapsed completely under the immense weight of the solid, ancient-style stone. This dramatic event was not an industrial accident, but a deliberate piece of art. Mexican sculptor Chavis Marmol hand-carved a replica of a prehistoric Olmec head for this project. He hired an industrial crane to lift the heavy monolith and place it onto the vehicle. The crushed car was designed to symbolize ancient indigenous history overpowering modern luxury technology and capitalist status. Watching the stone rest upon the car brings an open question, wondering if this destruction is brilliant contemporary art or just an expensive stunt. Fact 10. Simple survival often comes down to the most basic elements provided by nature. Many people assume that a single food can sustain human life, but potatoes alone do not offer complete nutrition. However, combining potatoes with one simple dairy item creates a surprisingly complete diet. Adding buttermilk fills the vital gaps by providing essential vitamins and healthy fats missing from the spud. Together, this humble pairing balances protein, carbohydrates, and micronutrients needed for the human body. Incredibly, records show that people have sustained themselves for years on a diet of nothing but potatoes and buttermilk. Resting comfortably, it makes one wonder if you could manage such a simple, plain diet, even to survive. Fact 11. Just as simple sustenance relies on seeing what is basic and true, human beings once knew their own faces only through quiet reflections in still water or through painted portraits. But in 1919, King Faisal I of Hijaz encountered a completely new kind of mirror while in the Arabian deserts. British officers touring the region introduced him to a camera and its freshly printed photographs. For the very first time in his life, he was able to gaze upon a perfect, frozen likeness of himself. Those who witnessed the moment saw a gentle mixture of confusion, wonder, and deep surprise rest upon his face. It marked a quiet, yet powerful shift for both rulers and their subjects, changing how a person holds their own image. It softly leaves one wondering, how would you react to seeing your own true image for the very first time? Fact 12. From looking closely at ourselves, we turn our gaze outward toward the quiet mysteries drifting in the deep night of space. Astronomers recently spotted a massive, glowing red object dating back to the cosmic dawn, known as MOM BH1. Externally, this rare celestial giant appears like an enormous star, stretching out to about the size of our entire solar system. Yet deep inside its glowing heart lies a ravenous, quietly growing supermassive black hole. This hidden monster radiates 100 billion times more energy than any known star, bending the rules of outer space physics. It is a strange hybrid, holding both brilliant light and deep darkness within one frame. Floating peacefully in the distance, it leaves an open question. Would you dare travel to this hybrid star, or is it better left unexplored? Fact 13. Just as vast structures take form in the cosmos, hands on Earth can shape giant forms out of forgotten materials. Standing quietly in Nigeria, a towering 24-foot kaiju sculpture was crafted by hand entirely from discarded rubber. Thousands of old car tires were salvaged from local streets to create its sharp scales and heavy frame. Turning this heavy waste into detailed art took months of patient labor, using simple hand tools to carve every tooth and back spine. By shredding and bolting the rubber together, The artist gently kept dangerous pollution out of the air. Over 100 massive truck tires were reshaped to complete the beast. Sitting quietly beneath the sky, it makes you ask, would you display a giant tire monster in your front yard? Fact 14. In another quiet corner of the earth, nature shapes waters that appear almost unearthly in their stillness. Sitting in northern Tanzania, a quiet lake runs a searing, unnatural red across its calm expanse. The water here is so deeply caustic that it can calcify anything that happens to enter it. The true danger rests in its exceptionally high pH level, where even a small exposure can prove fatal to living creatures. It remains a beautiful yet deadly trap, perfectly still under the warm sunlight. Travelers are urged to stay away from its gentle shores and keep their distance. Resting at its peaceful edge, one might ask, would you dip your hand in, or is some water better left untouched? Fact 15. Just as physical landscapes change, human communities also shift slowly and quietly across the passage of generations. In the heart of Japan, a gentle demographic shift is silently reshaping the country as years move on. The population of Japan has officially dropped below 120 million people, marking a notable threshold. This is the very first time the population has reached this level since 1978. Experts note that this calm decline is driven by low birth rates and a steadily aging population. Such a long trend brings quiet, significant impacts to the social and economic rhythms of daily life. Sitting with this quiet transition, one wonders, how does this change affect Japanese society? Fact 16. As societies hold on to their traditions, unique customs unfold across vast stretches of desert land. For the nomadic Tuareg people of the Sahara, the face veil is an ancient symbol of cultural identity. Here, it is the men who wear the tajal must, covering their entire face in a custom held for generations. Beyond its modesty, the fabric offers essential protection against the harsh desert sun and fierce sandstorms, while marking a boy's transition into manhood through quiet community rituals. Meanwhile, Tuareg women do not wear face veils and move freely throughout society. They are deeply revered as the keepers of the family, the culture, and the sacred ancient language. It gently asks us, what unique cultural symbols define identity in your world? In 1953, a Spanish father sold his 7-year-old son to a goat herder. When the old herder passed away, the boy fled into a dark mountain cave. Instead of starving, he was adopted by a wild wolf pack. They shared their raw meat and taught him how to howl to survive. The boy spent 11 years running on 4 legs and sleeping in caves. Police finally captured him in 1965, at which point he was completely unable to speak human language. Nuns helped to rehabilitate him, and he eventually married and lived to the age of 80. Looking back at his long journey, could you survive 11 years in the wild, or would you fold? Fact 18. From the ancient caves of Earth, our thoughts drift back out into the ancient cosmos where strange engines burned. Deep in the early universe, gargantuan stars grew far too massive for ordinary nuclear fusion to sustain them. Their dense cores collapsed inward into black holes, creating a bizarre hybrid that shouldn't exist. Rather than destroying the star, this internal black hole became its brand new power source. Gravity dragged stellar gas down into the central abyss, releasing blindingly hot radiation. This intense outward pressure prevented the colossal outer star from collapsing inward. These massive giants shined brighter than entire galaxies before slowly being devoured from within. Softly floating through time, would you dare to visit a cosmos powered by dark, hungry monsters? Fact 19. Deep ocean waters hold mysteries as dark and quiet as the furthest reaches of space. Normally living 2,000 feet below the surface, giant squids hunt in total darkness using huge, delicate eyes. Their bodies typically collapse long before reaching the upper light, making midnight surface appearances remarkably rare. Up near the top, warm surface water starves the creature of oxygen, making every minute a deadly risk. To survive the brief journey, 3 separate hearts work together to pump oxygenated blood through its massive limbs. It risks this dangerous environment solely to hunt massive surface prey under dark night skies. Gazing into the dark sea, if a 30-foot sea monster surfaced right beside your boat, would you stay? Dutch settlers once built a massive 12-foot wooden barricade across Manhattan Island. This barrier was built to stop invaders, and its eventual failure birthed a global icon. But this imposing defense system had one catastrophic, incredibly embarrassing flaw. In 1664, British warships simply sailed past the barrier and conquered the colony by sea. The victors renamed the settlement New York and quickly abandoned the useless structure. They tore down the massive barricade and paved a street called Wall Street. Looking back at this history, would you have built the wall or focused on securing the open sea? Deep inside a French villa lies a bedroom untouched since World War I. Hubert Rochereau was a young second lieutenant who died of his wounds in 1918 at the age of 21. His grieving parents left his room untouched, placing his uniform on the bedpost, and his pipe, pistol, and final letter on the desk. They later sold the estate with a strict 500-year preservation clause, meaning the owners legally cannot move a single speck of dust. It makes one wonder whether living alongside such silent history would feel like an honor, or if it is simply too ghostly. Fact 22. While human memory often seeks to preserve the fragile bonds of love, nature sometimes creates unexpected bonds of its own. Deep within the remote Russian wilderness, searchers flying thermal drone cameras spotted a missing Siberian husky that had wandered far into the snow. Rather than running in fear from apex predators, the lost dog was seen trotting calmly beside 3 wild brown bears. For hours, searchers observed the group resting and playing together in the cold landscape, as the bears seemed to accept the husky as a natural member of their wild family. When the dog's owners eventually arrived, the husky seemed reluctant to leave its companion pack behind. It leaves us to wonder how deeply animals can connect across species, and whether you would attempt to bring home a pet that found a new home in the wild. Deep on the Black Sea floor rests a Greek vessel with its mast still standing. It sank over 2,000 years ago, and its preservation defies normal ocean rules. At 2,000 meters down, crushing pressure has sealed the hull from rough currents. Even delicate rigging and ancient storage jars remain exactly where sailors left them. Because the deep Black Sea contains zero oxygen, the wood cannot decay at all. If you could explore the abyssal seabed, what lost ship would you seek? Fact 24. From the silent pressure of the deep sea to the vast air of high places, extreme environments preserve moments in extraordinary ways. High on Mount Everest, 29,000 feet above the world, the mountain transforms as night falls and temperatures plummet. As the evening cold deepens, massive sheets of ice contract rapidly and snap, creating loud booming sounds that echo across the frozen peaks. Yet in the thin, freezing air, all atmospheric haze disappears, leaving the night sky completely clear of light pollution. The Milky Way shines with incredible clarity, filling the dark space with bright cosmic light above the glowing snow. Climbers resting in their tents listen to the mountain shudder while gazing at the cosmos, leaving one to wonder if enduring those terrifying frozen sounds would be worth standing beneath such a sky. Fact 25. Standing upon those extreme icy slopes reveals not only the beauty of high altitudes, but also the dangerous reality of reaching them. At 8,000 meters on Mount Everest, the air is so thin that rescue helicopters cannot hover, leaving recovery efforts entirely to brave Sherpas. Sub-zero temperatures freeze fallen climbers solid, welding their bodies directly to the icy mountain path. Over time, trapped ice adds immense weight, turning a body into 300 frozen pounds that must be carefully chipped away in lethal oxygen levels. Famous landmarks like Green Boots remained on the summit trail for 2 decades, resting where they fell. The physical danger to living rescuers raises a profound question, making one wonder if risking lives to bring a fallen climber home is a choice you would make. Fact 26. While climbing the highest peaks on Earth tests human endurance, reaching out to other worlds requires imaginative engineering. In 2012, NASA engineers faced an immense challenge when landing the car-sized Curiosity rover on the surface of Mars. Because the Martian atmosphere is thin and wispy, traditional parachutes could not slow the heavy vehicle down enough for a safe landing. Scientists designed an extraordinary hovering rocket platform, known as a sky crane, which fired thrusters high above the dusty red surface. Floating statically in the sky, the crane gently lowered Curiosity down on long nylon cables until its wheels touched the ground, then cut the lines and flew away. Thinking of such a daring maneuver makes one wonder if you would trust a hovering rocket crane to land you safely on another world. Scientists once strapped a fragile steel camera inside a captured Nazi rocket. They launched it straight up, hoping a steel box would protect the photos. The V-2 rocket plummeted back down, slamming into the desert at full speed. Miraculously, the armored steel casing absorbed the entire 500-mile-per-hour impact. When scientists opened the wreckage, they found humanity's very first view of Earth. It makes one ponder whether you would risk everything on a gamble that seemed destined to fail. Customs agents at Istanbul Airport flagged an unlabeled shipment arriving directly from Nigeria. Inside a cramped wooden crate, officers made a shocking discovery: a living baby gorilla. International traffickers often exploit busy transit hubs to secretly move endangered wildlife across continents. This young ape was destined for Bangkok, where exotic pets fetch massive black market profits. Turkish authorities immediately provided critical medical care, saving the dehydrated infant from severe trauma. With only thousands of her species left, rescuers secured her transfer to a sanctuary. One wonders if global security can ever truly stop wildlife trafficking, or if smugglers will simply adapt. Fact 29. Just as care and attention can protect life on Earth, gazing upward reveals the lingering remains of ancient cosmic events far beyond our world. Deep inside the Crab Nebula rests the dense remnant of a giant star, which exploded in a supernova witnessed by ancient astronomers in the year 1054. Today, this crushed stellar core squeezes the mass of our Sun into a sphere only 12 miles wide, creating pressure so intense that a single teaspoon of its material weighs 1 billion tons. Spinning rapidly, it sends powerful beams of light flashing across deep space like a swift cosmic lighthouse. Observing such an extraordinary remnant through a telescope makes one reflect on the violent beauty of the universe, and whether you would search the night sky for this ancient spinning star. Fact 30. From the blinding speed of spinning stars in deep space to the intense forces encountered here on Earth, human courage sometimes pushes against extreme physical limits. In 1983, daredevil Rick Charls climbed a towering ladder higher than a 15-story building to attempt an unbelievable high dive. Looking down at a small pool far below, he launched himself into the air, reaching speeds of 80 miles per hour where water resists like solid concrete. Completing perfect flips during his 3-second plunge, he struck the water cleanly and walked away completely unharmed, setting a world record that remains unbroken to this day. Watching such a moment makes one wonder about the line between bravery and peril, and whether some heights should remain forever untouched. Looking closely at our daily surroundings often reveals unexpected connections behind simple everyday items. Many of our lotions, makeup products, and perfumes are actually made by the same companies. One manufacturer can quietly supply thousands of different brands, saving them huge costs. This means a high-end serum might be identical to a budget store's formula. These private label factories offer ready-made formulas, saving brands research and development time. Brands simply choose from catalogs, then apply their own unique packaging and marketing. This model allows beauty empires to scale fast while keeping quality consistent. Does knowing this change your view of your favorite beauty products? Fact 31. Just as quiet secrets lie hidden behind familiar product labels, whole unseen worlds can rest just beyond a simple wall. In 1963, a homeowner in Turkey knocked through a simple basement wall during routine home renovations. Behind that broken stone lay a carved passage opening into a massive, forgotten underground city known as Derinkuyu. As archaeologists explored deeper, they found an ancient complex extending 18 levels straight down into the earth. Long ventilation shafts drew fresh air down into vast subterranean halls designed to shelter up to 20,000 people. Within these carved stone spaces, communities survived for months, complete with chapels, stores, and quiet schools. Heavy rolling stone doors were designed to seal every floor, completely blocking out ancient invaders. Fact 32. While deep stone chambers shield quiet history below our feet, the vastness of deep space hides structures that challenge our understanding of nature. Deep in distant space, astronomers discovered a solid world that completely defies standard planetary science, calling it a mega-Earth. Standard cosmic theory suggested that any planet of this immense weight must gather thick atmospheres and turn into a gas giant. Yet detailed telescope data prove that this massive world is made entirely of dense, solid rock. It is 23 times more massive than our own planet Earth, quietly rewriting the rules of cosmic history. The unexpected physical reality of such a giant stone sphere shocked researchers when the data was confirmed, floating silently in the remote cosmic dark. A rare birth defect left a young cat's head missing part of its protective bone. He had to wear a tiny custom helmet everywhere, while surgeons planned a bold, permanent fix. Even the slightest accidental bump could have been instantly fatal. The helmet shielded his exposed head during everyday play like a piece of mini armor. As he grew bigger, veterinary specialists designed an exact custom replacement plate. Surgeons successfully fitted his head with a permanent 3D printed titanium skull. Now, he plays like any other normal cat, completely helmet-free. Would you equip your own pet with armor if it saved their life? Fact 34. Just as a tiny custom helmet once provided a safe sanctuary for a fragile creature, a busy airport terminal once became a peaceful home for a stranded man. Mehran Karimi Nasseri lost his refugee papers and found himself stuck inside Terminal 1 at Charles de Gaulle Airport in France. Without legal country status, he was unable to step outside through the terminal doors into the wider world. He made his home on a simple red plastic bench and washed in public restrooms while years quietly passed by. Airport employees eventually brought him food while he sat writing detailed daily diaries. When France finally offered him official residency papers after 18 years, he surprisingly refused to sign them, as the terminal had become his entire reality. Fact 35. While a human mind found a strange form of peace within the safe confines of an airport terminal, nature creates quiet sanctuaries in the total dark beneath us. Deep in the pitch-black subterranean caves of Alabama, scientists discovered a brand new species known as the eyeless demon cavefish. This ghostly, translucent predator evolved completely without eyes, swimming quietly through a subterranean world of absolute, freezing darkness. Instead of vision, this pale swimmer navigates the deep underground waters using hypersensitive skin pores. Directly above its silent cave sits a highly secure, active United States Army base. Completely unaware of the military operations on the surface far above, this quiet creature survives in absolute peace, glides through cold waters in a hidden cavern far below human sight. Fact 36. Just as hidden creatures adapt to survive in total darkness, wild animals sometimes show deep devotion to care for those who can no longer see. In the African wild, a 17-year-old lioness went completely blind, a condition that usually causes a predator to starve almost immediately. Yet her 3 young daughters refused to abandon her, rewriting the expected rules of nature through their shared actions. The young lionesses stepped up to become her guiding eyes, leading her safely through the dangerous brush. They shielded their blind mother from rival predators and hunted extra prey to ensure she was always fed. Each time they made a kill, the daughters let her eat first, allowing her to survive for 5 years despite her blindness. Fossilization almost always destroys soft flesh, leaving only bare skeletal bones behind. But an extraordinary specimen from the Triassic era broke these normal decay rules. Encased deep inside solid stone, the actual shape of its liver remains preserved. Rapid burial and oxygen-free mud block the bacteria that usually devour tissue. Over millions of years, minerals slowly replace the biological cells to petrify the actual organs. This rare miracle of preservation gives science a direct look at prehistoric biology. If stone can preserve soft flesh, what other secrets lie hidden in the deep earth? Fact 38. Just as deep mud and minerals can preserve ancient biological forms intact for millions of years, legal traditions can preserve vast collections of physical heritage across centuries. Deep inside Austrian state vaults sit thousands of golden thrones, velvet chairs, and imperial tables gathered over hundreds of years. Whenever a Habsburg monarch moved into a palace, imperial custom demanded completely fresh interior decor for their new home. Instead of selling off the old furnishings, imperial law required servants to carefully store every single item away in quiet vaults. For 7 centuries, endless gilded mirrors, royal beds, and ornate furniture vanished into safe storage. When the monarchy finally collapsed, the newly formed Austrian government inherited over 160,000 royal artifacts, worth billions. Fact 39. While human history buries thousands of imperial artifacts inside guarded vaults, our own bodies can quietly hold hidden structures that go unnoticed for centuries. Dutch cancer researchers recently spotted a large, previously unmapped structure deep within the human head, surprising the medical community. They discovered a hidden pair of tubarial salivary glands that traditional medical textbooks had completely missed for centuries. Measuring 1.5 inches long, these flat glands lie tucked tightly against the base of the skull. Standard throat scans had bypassed them for generations because dense surrounding bone shielded their exact location. Their vital daily role is to constantly lubricate and moisten the upper throat behind the nose, helping doctors avoid damaging them during critical radiation treatments. Fact 40. And just as medical science seeks to map the intricate channels of our bodies, nature has sculpted its own hidden pathways for effortless movement through the deep oceans. The yellowfin tuna is known as one of the fastest and most powerful predators in the sea, shaped like a torpedo with a stiff, crescent tail designed to glide through water. Yet beneath its skin lies a hidden evolutionary feature, consisting of specialized body grooves that allow the fish to completely tuck away its pectoral and dorsal fins. By smoothing its outer surface, the tuna reduces drag to an absolute minimum, enabling sudden bursts of speed up to 50 miles per hour. It is a quiet reminder of how the physical world rewards those forms that can adapt perfectly to the quiet currents around them. Fact 41. And this quiet chemistry of flow and resistance is not just found in the deep sea, but also in the warm, simple rituals of our daily lives, like the morning cup of coffee we prepare. In a controlled, blind taste test, 3 out of every 4 coffee drinkers surprisingly chose instant coffee over traditional drip coffee, praising its smooth flavor without knowing the brand. This preference comes down to the delicate science of brewing, as drip makers often over-extract the grinds and release bitter compounds into the pot. Modern instant coffee, however, is created by flash-freezing concentrated liquid at its peak freshness, which traps the sweet, aromatic compounds while completely locking out the harsh bitterness. It makes us look differently at the ordinary things we take for granted, finding unexpected quiet perfection. Fact 42. And while our mornings usually begin with peaceful, predictable patterns, sometimes a single, sudden moment can freeze an entire stadium into absolute stillness. In 1971, a wide receiver named Chuck Hughes suddenly collapsed onto the grass during a professional football game for the Detroit Lions. He had suffered a massive, sudden heart attack right on the 20-yard line, and medical staff worked desperately to perform CPR in front of 70,000 onlookers. Instead of halting the game, officials decided that both teams must play through the final remaining moments, leaving the players to finish in a ghostly, silent stadium. It remains the only time an NFL player has died directly on the field, leaving a quiet, somber memory of a moment where the show simply went on. Fact 43. And just as those athletes faced unseen pressures under the stadium lights, there are other professions where workers encounter a silent, invisible element high above our heads. A massive health study tracking 500 different occupations in the United States recently found that flight attendants and pilots experience the highest and second highest proportions of radiation-related cancer deaths. Even though airline crews never handle radioactive materials or step inside nuclear facilities, they spend their days 30,000 feet in the air, where the protective atmosphere thins. Up here, cosmic rays from deep space strike the aircraft, meaning a full-time crew absorbs radiation equivalent to dozens of medical chest X-rays every year. It is a quiet, invisible environment we rarely consider as we drift through the clouds on a journey. Fact 44. And while those planes travel quietly through the upper atmosphere, down on the ground we find other ways to suspend ourselves high in the air, often for the sake of cinematic storytelling. In major Hollywood films like Spider-Man, directors often choose to step away from computer-generated imagery in favor of massive, physical practical effects that transform real city blocks. Film crews will shut down active streets to build enormous wire rigs, hoisting stunt performers hundreds of feet in the air directly above live traffic zones. Pyrotechnic teams will even place real gasoline charges on the asphalt, creating sudden, blinding explosions of heat right below the balconies of nearby apartment buildings. It creates a strange, beautiful contrast between the quiet safety of a living room and the controlled chaos unfolding just outside the glass. Fact 45. And just as a film crew can briefly alter a city street, the ancient Earth was shaped by colossal forces that carved entire landscapes in ways that took humanity decades to fully comprehend. A geologist named J. Harlan Bretz proposed that the unique landscape of the Pacific Northwest, including the 80-mile-long Columbia River Gorge and the scablands of eastern Washington, was carved by a sudden and catastrophic Ice Age flood. For decades, his scientific peers ridiculed this radical idea, clinging instead to the gradualist view of slow, gentle erosion. But in the 1970s, NASA satellite images revealed giant current ripples and gravel bars, proving that massive ice dams had burst to release colossal volumes of water. At 96, Brett received geology's highest honor, quipping that all his enemies were dead, leaving him with no one to gloat over. Fact 46. And while those ancient ice dams have long since vanished, the high, frozen places of our world still hold immense power over those who dare to traverse them. High on the slopes of Mount Everest, at an altitude of 7,500 meters, a Sherpa climber was once left behind and presumed deceased by his team. Without any bottled oxygen or food, he miraculously survived for 6 days by chewing on ice and eating chocolate, though his greatest challenge still lay ahead. During his descent, he plunged into a deep, dark glacial crevasse, remaining trapped inside the freezing ice for 2.5 days. Using his frozen fingers to manually carve footholds, he escaped and began crawling toward base camp, even as his family prepared his funeral. Fact 47. And just as survival on a frozen mountain depends on quiet mental strength, facing the ocean's most formidable creatures requires a steady, unbroken focus that defies our natural instinct to run. At the famous underwater sanctuary known as Tiger Beach, divers are taught a simple but absolute rule for swimming alongside massive 18-foot tiger sharks. These majestic creatures are ambush predators, meaning they rely on a target being distracted, and they will actively call off an attack if they realize you are looking. When one of these sharks swims directly toward you, instead of turning to flee, you must lock eyes with it and slowly rotate your body as it circles. Keeping this uninterrupted eye contact deprives the shark of its tactical advantage, causing it to quietly drift away into the blue. Fact 48. And just as these ancient marine predators have roamed the seas for millions of years, it is interesting to wonder what physical marks humanity will leave behind once our own time has passed. If humans were to suddenly vanish tomorrow, the great cities of concrete and steel would be slowly reclaimed by nature, fading away after 10,000 years. Yet, a few quiet signatures of our existence would still remain buried deep within the earth or drifting silently through the sky. Our nuclear waste, sealed miles beneath the surface, is specifically designed to outlast empires, while microscopic fragments of plastic will persist in the soil forever. High above, our silent satellites will continue to orbit the Earth in the darkness, serving as a quiet, material legacy of our brief and powerful journey. Fact 49. And while those silent satellites watch over the surface of our world, there are entirely separate, quiet realms existing directly beneath our feet that we are only beginning to discover. Deep beneath the soil of India, vast underground aquifers hold unique forms of aquatic life that have evolved in total darkness without ever touching the light of the sun. Recently, a local resident noticed a pale, glass-like creature swimming inside a domestic water well and posted a brief video of it on TikTok. An observant biologist spotted the clip, leading to the scientific discovery of a brand new species of translucent eel. It is a gentle reminder that even in our highly connected, modern world, wonderful secrets are still hiding in the quiet, dark spaces just waiting to be found. Fact 54. And just as that translucent eel remained hidden in the depths, other curious creatures have spent centuries concealed in the thick canopy of the rainforest, waiting to be discovered. Deep in the Amazon rainforest of Ecuador, a tiny, unusual arachnid known as the bunny harvestman was found in 1959. It carries a strange disguise, with two bright yellow spots that look like giant eyes beneath a pair of tall, upright rabbit ears. This ancient creature belongs to a lineage that has lived for over 400 million years, long before the very first dinosaurs walked the earth. Some suspect this absurd rabbit face makes the tiny creature appear like a much larger predator. It makes you wonder, if you were walking in the dark forest and saw this tiny glowing face, would you stop to investigate? Fact 52. While we marvel at the complex designs nature creates to protect its creatures, we also use our own science to care for our bodies, though chemistry can be quite delicate. For instance, using simple alkaline bar soap on your hair causes the delicate cuticles to swell up and split almost instantly. This high pH balance leaves the hair feeling rough, tangled, and coated in a dull mineral scum. On the other hand, using liquid shampoo on your body leaves a slippery, unwashable residue of heavy conditioning agents on bare skin. Modern all-in-one washes try to solve this with synthetic detergents balanced to our skin's acidity, but this compromise is rarely strong enough for thick, complex hair. One might wonder if you prefer separate bottles, or if you would risk the all-in-one shortcut. Fact 59. This daily routine of personal care is just one of many small habits that shape our modern lives, where we often look for small shortcuts to manage our busy days. For those who spend their days working on computers, keeping a digital presence active is a common task. If you want Microsoft Teams to show you as online while you are away from your desk, there is a simple trick you can use. By creating a new meeting with only yourself in it, joining, and then manually changing your status to busy, the program will keep your status green. Leaving that private meeting running keeps you looking active even while you step away. It makes one ponder what other simple hacks you might use to manage your virtual availability during a long working day. Fact 53. While some technology keeps us tethered to virtual offices and bright screens, other thoughtful designs are made to connect us directly with the physical beauty of our world. High above the historic city of Naples, Italy, a smooth steel handrail stretches across a castle lookout point. Along its continuous surface, an artist named Paolo Pudu engraved a poetic description written entirely in Braille. Instead of offering warnings, the raised letters describe the breathtaking panorama of the city skyline, the shimmering Gulf of Naples, and historic Mount Vesuvius. It allows visually impaired visitors to trace their fingers along the metal and feel the landscape in their minds. It makes you wonder if more iconic landmarks should create gentle artwork designed for touch instead of sight. Fact 51. This quiet way of experiencing a landscape through touch, rather than sight, invites us to think of those who navigate the world in darkness, sometimes carrying a resolve that shapes history itself. Long ago, during the Battle of Crécy in 1346, the completely blind King John of Bohemia refused to seek safety, having lost his vision years prior. To join the combat, he ordered his knights to tie their horses' reins to his own so he could swing his heavy sword. Together, this bound group charged headlong into a dense rain of thousands of English arrows. Trapped by the very ropes that united them, the entire escort of knights was slaughtered in the muddy field. One is left to wonder if you would follow a leader when loyalty meant guaranteed death. Fact 58. The absolute trust demanded by a leader in the chaos of battle is a heavy thing, yet we sometimes place a similar quiet trust in those who perform remarkable, precise feats of skill. In modern times, the Italian stunt pilot Dario Costa demonstrated this extreme precision by matching his aircraft to a speeding railway train, touching down smoothly on a custom platform on top of a moving car. Later, he attempted an even more daring feat by flying a race plane at full throttle inside a narrow concrete tunnel. He flew just inches above the asphalt, zipping through two connected tunnels before bursting out into the bright, open sunlight. It makes you ask yourself if you would ever trust a pilot to pull off such a precise and dangerous maneuver. Fact 57. Whether navigating narrow concrete tunnels on Earth or traversing the silent vacuum of space, human ambition continually pushes our vessels to land safely in places once thought unreachable. In 2023, India's Chandrayaan-3 mission successfully achieved the nation's first moon landing. Developed by ISRO as the third mission in their lunar exploration program, the spacecraft carried a lander named Vikram and a small rover called Pragyan. These vehicles replaced those from the previous Chandrayaan-2 mission, which had sadly crashed during its landing attempt in 2019. With Vikram and Pragyan resting safely on the dusty lunar surface, the mission continued its quiet work. It invites us to contemplate what structural designs help these fragile landers cushion their soft touchdown on the silent surface of the moon. Fact 55. While we send our machines to touch the dusty surface of the moon, there are moments when the moon itself reaches out, casting its giant shadow back upon our home. On August 21, 2017, a spectacular total solar eclipse traversed the continental United States, blocking the sun completely from coast to coast. A 70-mile-wide shadow raced across the landscape at supersonic speeds, turning midday into pitch-black night, causing temperatures to drop and revealing bright stars in the sky. While millions watched from the ground, partial views of the eclipse stretched across 4 continents, from Arctic Canada down to South America. It makes you wonder, if a total solar eclipse crossed directly over your hometown, would you stop everything to look up at the sky? Fact 56. When the sun disappears, our eyes naturally turn toward the stars, seeking out those quiet places on Earth where the night sky can be captured in all its silent glory. High on the Campo Imperatore plateau in Italy, within the Grand Sasso Massif of Abruzzo, the peaceful landscape sits at an elevation between 1,800 and 2,000 meters. In late summer, photographers gather in this rocky canyon to capture the Perseid meteor shower beneath the arch of the Milky Way, with its bright red hydrogen alpha emission nebulae. To record this scene, 3 long exposures of 120 seconds are stacked at ISO 800 to reveal the background stars. Then, separate 10-second exposures at ISO 3200 are taken to capture the fast-moving meteors without blurring. One might ponder why shorter exposure times are required to capture these brief, fleeting streaks of light. Fact 50. Capturing these swift streaks of light from the stillness of a mountain plateau is beautiful, but sometimes a lucky traveler gets to witness these cosmic visitors from a completely different perspective. While flying at a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, looking out a cabin window can suddenly reveal a blinding streak of cosmic light. These fireballs travel at 40,000 miles per hour, creating a fascinating visual illusion in the clear air above the thickest clouds. The meteor appears to be burning right next to the aircraft's wing, but in reality, that blazing fireball is disintegrating 50 miles above you. Seeing such a powerful display so close makes one wonder. If you saw a blazing fireball outside your window, would you marvel at its beauty, or would you panic? As we close our journey through these quiet stories of history, science, and the stars, we are reminded of how deeply connected our world truly is. If you found comfort in these gentle truths tonight, you are welcome to subscribe and join us for more peaceful explorations in the future. For now, you might let your mind drift to another of our calm stories as you settle into a deep, restful sleep. Before you close your eyes, consider this. Of all the quiet mysteries we have shared tonight, which one made the world feel just a little more beautiful to you?